Hello, everybody. Welcome into a Monday edition of the Computer America Show. It's our pre-show here. We got a terrific show planned for you in the second hour, Computer and Technology News, brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. And in the first hour, for those of you who don't understand what cryptocurrency is all about, Bitcoin, that type of thing, what's it all about? We have an expert here. In fact, we have the CEO of GreenBank Capital Incorporated is going to be here. Mr. Danny Wetridge is going to be joining us. He's the CEO of GreenBank Capital Incorporated. And also, he's going to be talking about
1 minute until showtime.
Their cryptocurrency called GreenCoinX and why, what it is, what it's all about, and why maybe it's even better than Bitcoin. So sit back, relax, enjoy 2 hours of the Computer America Show coming at you right here. Hello, hello, hello. Aha. I just got a new version of Skype, an update alert. It just went ahead and automatically updated itself. 15 seconds.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live, it's America's longest-running national radio talk show on computers, Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. Look for Craig's weekly column in your favorite newspaper. This show is being beamed nationwide at ComputerAmerica.com. Keep it here for technology news, computer products, guest interviews, and your phone calls. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello, and welcome into the Computer America Show. It's the nation's longest-running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. Computer America is heard around the world and coast to coast. And I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And hopefully all of you had a wonderful weekend. Ben, hopefully you had a good, nice weekend. And,
wasn't bad. Wasn't
bad. We got some things done around the house. Got some things.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. And now this, I always talk about movies. This movie, this Friday, Captain America, the Civil War.
Civil War.
Yeah, that's going to be premiering this Friday. So I am looking forward to seeing that. A big blockbuster movie. I definitely will not go see it Friday night because it'll be packed. I'll probably go see it like on a, an off day, maybe on a Sunday afternoon or something, and catch it. But in the meantime, welcome into the Monday edition of Computer America Show. In the second hour, we're going to be doing computer and technology news. That's brought to you by Slimware Utilities. They are the official optimization software of Computer America. And in the first hour, for those of you who are still on the edge or don't understand cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, that type of thing, and you still don't quite get it or don't understand it, or you do, but you're hesitant or you have lots of questions, boy, do we have a show for you today. We have an expert on cryptocurrency going to be joining us in a few minutes. He is Mr. Danny Wetridge. He is the CEO of GreenBank Capital Incorporated, and he's going to be talking about cryptocurrency, and they have their own called GreenCoinX. Okay, and maybe he'll tell us a little bit what that is and why it might be better than Bitcoin. We're really going to get into the ins and outs of cryptocurrency on today's show. So it's going to be very interesting. And if you have a comment or a question for us or our guests, we'd love to hear from you. Pick up the phone, give us a call, 347-884-8881. That's 347-884-8881. We'll get you on and get you through. If you don't want to go on the air, just go to ComputerAmerica.com, and on the upper right-hand corner of any page, it says Submit a Question. Just click it. It's a link. It'll take you to our question submission page. You can type in any question that you like or comment, hit the Submit button, and Ben and I will see what you've typed immediately. Another great way to communicate with us. The other thing is you can also watch the Computer America Show. We are a radio broadcast, but also we provide live video streaming of our show. So just head over to ComputerAmerica.com. Again, any page On the menu bar, it'll say Show Lounge. Just click it. You'll be teleported instantaneously to our live video streaming page. You'll join the show already in progress, and you can watch the show. Ben has the technology to display websites, videos, movies, links, things in the background. So not only can
Comes in handy.
What is it?
Comes in handy.
And whatever we're talking about, you'll actually be able to see it. Ben will display it for you. It just makes more interactive and more involved process, so you can see what we're talking about as well as hear what we're talking about on Computer America. So before we get started, Ben, anything else that you'd like to speak to us about, or anything on your mind?
Not really. A lot of things happening behind the scenes here at the show. As always, be sure to look out for new articles that we write and things like that. But right now, no, nothing I'm ready to talk to the public at large about yet. So no, I'm good. I just hope everyone had a good weekend.
Yeah, exactly. We still can't talk about that thing yet. Okay.
Nope.
Okay. All right. Well, as I mentioned, we have the gentleman who is an expert in cryptocurrency. And we're going to be talking about something called GreenCoinX. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. But GreenCoinX is a software company that has developed the world's first cryptocurrency that requires users to be identified. You see, that's a lot different. Bitcoin, you can do it totally anonymous. Not this one. No, you have to be identified. Why is that a good thing? We'll find out. And GreenBank will shortly be launching the GreenCoinX ecosystem, which encompasses an identifiable cryptocurrency, a free online wallet, and a free online cryptocurrency exchange. Okay. Now, here to discuss cryptocurrency and how GreenCoinX is different than Bitcoin is Danny Wettrich. He is the CEO of GreenBank Capital Incorporated. Danny, welcome into Computer America. How are you, sir?
Thank you very much. It's fun to talk to both you and Ben.
And likewise. And then thank you so much for taking the time to be here and tell our listeners about this. Why don't you just first tell us a little bit about who GreenBank is? Who is GreenBank Capital?
GreenBank is a public company listed in Canada on the Canadian Securities Exchange. Its trading symbol there is GBC. And we're also traded throughout the U.S. over the counter, and our trading symbol in the U.S. is GRNBF. We basically have two subsidiaries. One is a licensed investment bank in Canada, and one is GreenCoinX. And GreenCoinX Inc. has developed, it's a software company that has developed the world's first cryptocurrency that requires all users to be identified. And that's a pretty unusual scenario. In fact, we're the one and only cryptocurrency in the world that has that capability.
Well, now let me just, and we're certainly going to get into the details. We're just getting started here, but I've always thought that the attraction of cryptocurrency was the anonymous angle. You didn't know who it was, didn't know, and identifying yourself.
Yeah, it was a mixture of, you don't really have to provide any kind of personal information, and you can use it anywhere. It had kind of that flexibility that, if you stand there with $20 in your hand, US dollars, and you're like, okay, I have $20. No one cares what I do with this. I can do whatever I want with this. This is my money. That cryptocurrency had the same allure because, it doesn't really matter who you are or what you're going to buy. It just works.
And also, I guess it was sort of like a tax loophole too, because they didn't know who you were. You didn't have to pay taxes on it too.
Oh, I definitely wouldn't hide money in a lot of cryptocurrency though. That seems dangerous.
So what? I mean, why is being identifiable a bragging right? I guess, Danny.
Well, let me explain. First of all, you have to be careful what you wish for. Bitcoin is anonymous. All the users are anonymous. And so, yes, the users can hide from government. The users can hide from regulators. The users can do transactions which government can't trace very easily. The problem with that is it's not a currency, and it never will be an acceptable worldwide currency if all the users are unidentified. The reality is that if you want to enter the world of commerce, and that's ultimately what currency is about, you have to be identified. When you open a bank account, you have to provide know your customer qualifications in terms of identification. You have to upload copies of your passport and utility bill, etc., to prove to the bankers who you are before they open a bank account for you. What GreenCoinX has done is exactly the same thing. If you want to open a GreenCoinX wallet online, you have to provide identification in the form of passport, driving license, the same kind of situation you would have to do when you open a bank account. If you do not want to do that, then there must be obviously a reason why you're hiding from government, and that's why government doesn't like it. All governments and regulators are, at this point, very concerned about Bitcoin users because the bulk of Bitcoin users clearly are using it in order to hide. That has attracted all sorts of problems. Drug dealers, even terrorists. The Paris and Brussels attacks in Europe just recently were funded by Bitcoin. That's a real problem for government.
I did not know that.
For example, the European Union is introducing legislation this summer to make it extremely difficult to buy and sell Bitcoin in Europe without full identification, which in itself is a software problem that Bitcoin has struggles to cope with. So yes, there's a place for Bitcoin. Yes, I understand why people like to use it, but on a long-term basis, the ability to transact business in the world of commerce requires identification, and that's what GreenCoinX is focused on.
So would you say that is the main difference between GreenCoinX and Bitcoin, or are there other differences as well?
There are other differences. We've basically took a step back a couple of years ago when we started this development program and said to ourselves, what will make this cryptocurrency acceptable to both governments and consumers alike? And we set about creating a cryptocurrency that met those qualifications. The first and most important being identification, which we now have to the same know your customer standards as the banking world. But there are also other things that cause problems with the Bitcoin system, which have to be addressed for it to be properly utilized. One of the things that we have to focus on is currency stability. Bitcoin is notorious for moving price-wise in violent steps.
Yeah.
It's not unusual to see a 20% change in the value of the Bitcoin within a space of a couple of weeks or less. That has happened many times. That's a real problem. If you're buying a cup of coffee for $1, the recipient needs to know he's getting roughly $1, not $1.30 or 70 cents. You know.
Well,
and so we have.
But Danny, don't people liken that to commodities market? You know, because commodities, one might be this, and then it might be this, and they're saying, hey, if you're dealing in cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or whatever, you know, it has to be disposable income. You shouldn't be worried about this. This is money that you have, and you can't.
But I mean, to be fair, you don't walk up to Starbucks and put a brick of gold on the counter and say, yeah, you know, change is fair. And you know, it's not used as kind of a currency. It's used as a commodity.
Yeah, I want to hear what Danny has to say about the commodities. Is it like a commodity or?
Well, you're right, guys. You know, the concept that you said, well, you know, does it really matter if the price fluctuates? But it certainly does matter if you're trying to use it as a currency. And you need to step back and think about what was the whole purpose of cryptocurrency in the first place. When Bitcoin was launched, why do we want it? What's the purpose of a cryptocurrency? Well, the reality is all the problems of Bitcoin have caused people to lose focus on what cryptocurrency is. Cryptocurrency is a fast and inexpensive way to move money around the world outside of the banking system. And let me give you an example. If you are sending $1,000 from, say, New York to Beijing, your only choice really from a practical perspective is a wire transfer. You send a wire transfer, it goes through 3 or 4 different banking hands who all move it down the line and charge a fee for the luxury of moving it down the line. By the time the bank account in Beijing gets credited with the money about 7 to 10 days later, he's probably got a net $800 instead of $1,000. Now you do exactly the same transaction with GreenCoinX. It costs nothing and it takes about an hour to be received in Beijing. That's a big deal. and represents, from a consumer perspective, hundreds of millions of dollars of saved wire transfer fees, which the banks charge simply to move money around. It also opens up the world for the unbanked. There are 2 billion people in the world who do not have access to a bank account. And with GreenCoin X, all they need is a mobile phone, and they access their online wallet, and they do a transaction. Say they go to a retailer online and buy a bicycle from North America, and then bicycle gets delivered to their local post office in Kenya or wherever they happen to be. And they're in the world of commerce without being part of the banking system. And they're also in the world of commerce in a very inexpensive way. That's a big deal too.
So you're saying that
you also have, sorry, I just want to add one thing, which
please.
you may not have focused on either, which is micropayments. Most of the world's moving money around is under $3,000. If you're moving $1 million, sure, who cares what the wire transfer fees are, because they're not a big percentage. But if you're moving small amounts of money, which is what most people do, it really does add up to a significant percentage of the money you're transferring if it's a micropayment. Yeah. But with GreenCoin X, you can do tiny little transactions, you know, $50, $100, and it's doable because there's effectively no charge for moving the money around.
So if there were advantages to using cryptocurrency, it's speed as far as the delivery of the money, and
yes.
virtually no fees is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay. So
which is significant.
Well, yeah. So if GreenCoin X, let's say, which is with the GreenBank capital, is not making any fees, how does the bank make money from this cryptocurrency? How do you make a profit from it?
Well, our whole focus is to encourage adoption. So we have a free online wallet. We have free Know Your Customer identification. Mm-hmm. We have a commission-free affiliated exchange, which can provide users a medium of buying and sell the coins for fiat currency. Why are we doing all this for free? Basically to encourage adoption. GreenBank, through its subsidiary GreenCoin X, owns 60 million coins. On a long-term basis, that is the point of our business plan. If we get widespread adoption and usage of the coin, mm-hmm. because there is limited supply of the coin, like there is with Bitcoin, big demand causes a price increase. A price increases the investment portfolio of GreenBank, and that's really what we're about. So by encouraging adoption and usage on a long-term basis, we will get a benefit by the fact that our investment portfolio of GreenCoin X will increase in value.
So what I'm getting from you is that literally anybody can benefit from GreenCoin X. These can be people who don't have a bank account, don't have a checking account, but need some sort of financial placement, some sort of centering, yes. if you will, and they can get that with your cryptocurrency because they are not anonymous. You do know who they are, and unlike other banks where you have to go through this, I guess, an approval process. I don't know. To open a banking account today, do you really need to? Is it like the phone company? You really need? Well, I'm sorry, we can't open a checking account for you because you have no credit. I mean, what are some of the advantages, and why is opening a GreenCoin X account, let's say, more easy than opening a standard checking account at some bank?
Well, for a start, you can do the whole process online. It takes about 15 minutes to do. Secondly, it's not an analysis of your credit. GreenCoin X is simply a method for you to move money around. It doesn't verify your credit capability. So all you need basically is online access, which you can have through a mobile phone or through your PC, your computer, and you provide simple identification documents, and those are verified within 15 minutes. You get a unique number, which is your KYC number, which you can then use to open an online wallet, and you're in the ecosystem that GreenCoin X has created. It's a pretty simple process. And all governments all over the world have some form of identification for their citizens. Whatever that identification is, we can verify that that's appropriate and verify the person. One of the last pieces of that identification process is a photograph of the individual holding his government ID open next to his face, so we can compare the face of the photo to the face of the government ID, and that basically ensures that the person who's uploading the information is the person whose documentation is belonging to.
Does GreenCoin X lend any kind of credibility or to the person who's using it because they are in fact identifiable? Let's say I'm a person who does not have a bank account, but I really need something to to establish who I am. Can people use it in that way, or can they not use it for some sort of identification purposes? I don't know, necessarily applying for credit or whatever it may be.
It's certainly a proof of identification as far as the retailers and the online community is concerned, because that person has gone through a KYC process, which is a very high standard. And so if an individual goes to a online retailer and wishes to conduct business using GreenCoin X, the online retailer knows that the person he's dealing with is the person who is who he is purported to be. You do the same transaction with Bitcoin. The reality is that the retailer has no idea who he's selling the goods to.
All right.
And that's why online drug use using Bitcoin was a big factor. The third largest dealer of drugs online was in fact using Bitcoin as their only medium of exchange. So it's a problem that has to be resolved, and in my judgment, the only way cryptocurrency is ever going to be used on a worldwide basis as a currency is if the individuals are identified. And the reality is that cryptocurrency is actually the most significant technological breakthrough to impact the financial world since the internet. It has opened up all sorts of possibilities of bringing in a huge demographic of the unbanked into the world of commerce, which currently they are incapable of doing. And, countries like India, for example, which is basically a cash society, they're very keen on moving towards a cashless society. Just to give you an example, about 95% of the economy in India is cash. About 95% of the economy in the States is not cash, it's digital payments through the banking system. So digital payments is the future, and cryptocurrency is the future for the unbanked. There's no question about that.
So then, if this is the case, what kind of adoption are you seeing? If you're the first real cryptocurrency to require identification, and that, I mean, you're the first, being the first of anything is a big deal. What kind of adoption are you seeing so far? I mean, how long has it been out, and how is this being received, Danny?
Well, to be blunt, it's only been out 3 weeks. So you're actually the first significant medium that telling the world through that GreenCoin X is available to be used.
And we love that here. We love that on the show.
Well done, Computer America.
What an honor.
Yes, it is, and we're so glad to be telling this to our listeners. And you're hearing it. So basically, you're hearing all about this first here on Computer America. So only about 3 weeks.
So we're hoping that the reception is warm. And Danny, I hope you don't mind, but I feel like we should ask this question at the very beginning of the interview. But maybe it's just the accent, maybe it's something else. But you seem like a very learned man. Like I'm just kind of interested. Do you have a history of finances? Did you work in the financial industry, or I'm just kind of curious about why someone would be so interested in starting a cryptocurrency when it is such a, don't get me wrong, we've had other guests on the show who also say that this is a huge deal, and its true impact really just needs to be realized. But how did you get interested in starting all this?
Well, my background is merchant banking. I've been a merchant banker all my life, and have been dealing and taking small companies public for many years on multiple exchanges all over the world, and currently focused on Canada, which has an excellent small cap exchange, and I particularly focused on small cap companies. And with my financial background, I realized a couple of years ago that cryptocurrency was potentially transformational, but it had this huge problem of an anonymity. And I realized too that with that problem unsolved, it would never really take off and be used by consumers, and it would never, frankly, be welcomed by governments because of all the problems that are associated with anonymity. And that has, in fact, proved to be the case. But in the meantime, a couple of years ago, I put together a development team headed by a very smart chief technical officer called Neelam Doctor, who's a genius programmer. And after a 2-year development team, we created GreenCoinX, but we also created the ecosystem around it so that it would be acceptable as a currency on a worldwide basis. It's not just the KYC component, which is important, but it's lots of other things that have caused issues with the Bitcoin world that we've also addressed. A simple one, for example, is a safe exchange. You know, how do you buy and sell the coins on a worldwide basis? Well, if you ask the same question for Bitcoin, there basically is about 60 online cryptocurrency exchanges all over the world. You go online and you can send them money, fiat currency money, and they will facilitate the buying and selling of Bitcoin. The problem is that this industry at this point is basically unregulated, and there's been some really bad guys owning exchanges who have run off with client funds.
There was a scandal with Mt. Gox that we covered a little while ago. That's
correct. Mt. Gox is a prime example of that. You know, at the point in time when Mt. Gox went bust, it traded 70% of the world's trading in Bitcoin, and you know, quite frankly, the principals of that exchange ran off with client monies. Well, we have to address that if we're going to get users on a worldwide basis to use GreenCoinX. They want to have the comfort of knowing that when they send money to an exchange, that the exchange owners won't rob them of their funds before they even get the ability to buy and sell GreenCoinX. So we created an affiliated exchange, which is called CyCrypto. And that exchange has a unique feature, which is that all client funds are held by a third-party fiduciary company in Switzerland. And the client has to sign off before we can even access the funds. So basically, the owners of the exchange can't steal client funds because they don't have access to it. The only purpose of the exchange is to provide a medium to buying and selling GreenCoinX for fiat currency. And in that regard, we've made that exchange commission-free. We're not looking to make a few bucks from the buying and selling of the coin. What we're looking to do is to encourage people to say, okay, I can invest in GreenCoinX, I can use GreenCoinX, and anytime I want to exchange it for dollars, sterling, euro, whatever the case may be, I can go to CyCrypto and pay the market price or receive the market price for GreenCoinX at that time in that currency. It's purely a question of supply and demand. But the thing that they should not be concerned about is if they put their money into CyCrypto to use the exchange, that the owners won't run off with the money because they can't. It's not held by them, it's held by a third-party fiduciary. So that's a very important part of our ecosystem to ensure that Mr. and Mrs. Smith in Albuquerque who wants to use GreenCoinX isn't concerned that if she uses GreenCoinX and then goes to an exchange to convert it into US dollars, that somehow or other she'll be robbed.
Now, what about I understand you're only 3 weeks old, so, but it's taking a long time for companies to accept cryptocurrency. I know Amazon now will take Bitcoin, that type of thing, and certain places will do that. But it took them a long time to get there. I mean, if I need to talk to you how I would convert, let's say, my paper currency into GreenCoinX. But let's say I change $100 of my cash into GreenCoinX. Where can I take it to? I mean, can I go to any place immediately and use it, or do the places have to support the acceptance of GreenCoinX? That merchant has to accept it.
Well, clearly the merchant has to accept it, but it's a simple process to accept it. All the merchant has to do is open a GreenCoinX online wallet. There's nothing very sophisticated about the process. So if the customer has a wallet and the retailer has a wallet, the customer can pay and the retailer will receive in his wallet. It's a basically simple process. We've tried to make it as simple as possible, but clearly adoption is important. But the reality is, if you look back what happened to Bitcoin, when Bitcoin was launched in 2009, it was a few pennies. And within a couple of years, it had broken $1,200 per Bitcoin, which is clearly a stratospheric increase. But the prime reason for that was 85% or so of the owners of Bitcoin at that point were investors. They were piling into Bitcoin on the basis that they anticipated that it would be used on a worldwide basis as a currency. Well, subsequently, the price has basically fallen apart. It went all the way down to the 100 level and has now crawled back to the 400 plus or minus. But the reality is it fell apart because those same investors realized that it wasn't going to be used as a worldwide currency. It may have other uses, but not as a worldwide currency. So,
Danny, I'll tell you, Danny, I'll tell you what. We got a break, and then we'll continue on, please. All right? You're listening to the Computer America Show. Ben and I are talking to Danny Wettrich, the CEO of GreenBank Capital, and we're talking about GreenCoinX. We got a brand new news tips and review coming up as well. We'll be right back with him and more right after these words. Stay with us, please.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons: accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Sometimes disaster strikes. Data can be lost due to many different reasons: accidental reformatting, power spikes, virus attacks. Zero Assumption Recovery provides a suite of highly effective and thorough data recovery software for Windows operating systems. ZA is suitable for home users and small businesses who need a powerful data recovery solution for Windows and Linux file systems.
Go to z-a-recovery.com.
Okay, I give up. How many FBI agents does it take to crack? Oh, hi, Marty Winston with a News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, the Makina round ceiling light. Now, Makina sent an LED-based ceiling fixture, a shallow 14-inch disc with a bright but diffused glow, both downwards and around the perimeter. It provides 2125 lumens, which is almost as much as you get from a 150-watt incandescent bulb, but on 25 watts of power at a pleasant 3000 Kelvin color temperature and with a 36,000-hour life expectancy. It's compatible with many dimmers, and we were surprised by how little it weighs. There's no hang-down part to the mounting. It does a great job of hugging the ceiling. We'll probably put this light into our soundproof recording booth. Bottom line, the Makina 14-inch round LED ceiling light is a slim and trendy-looking fixture that delivers plenty of good light for a good long time. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
32 minutes after the hour here on the Computer America Show. Welcome back to the Computer America program. 347-884-8881. I'll get John and get you through it. Yeah, no, look, I know that you know this, Ben. That long before Vistaprint asked me to tell everyone about them, your mom and I have been using Vistaprint for years. I'm making business cards, having the Computer America logo placed on the polo shirt that you wear, you know, when you go to conventions like CES. We even print a business card for our personal lives with our home address and phone number. In fact, Vistaprint offers tons of custom products for home and office needs. And Vistaprint absolutely guarantees you'll love your products every time, or they will make it right. In fact, they'll give you 500 business cards, 500 of them for just $9.99, only if you enter my promo Craig at the checkout. So just go to the website at vistaprint.com and you'll see how easy it is to design your own stuff using their web-based custom design service. Remember to use my promo code Craig, CRAIG, and save up to 50% over their regular pricing. Don't wait. Go to vistaprint.com and order today.
Right. So, yeah, and great people over there at Vistaprint. We really do use them, and I still have a stack of 1,000 cards around here somewhere. Always good to have them laying around, and yeah. So
use them when you need them.
Yeah, use them when you need them, or to fling across the room when you're bored. But no, but yeah. So welcome back to the Computer America Show. We are here with GreenBank, and we're talking about GreenCoin X. And we have Danny Wetridge here. He's the CEO, and just getting into what are some of the safeguards that that you can expect when using this. What can a company do if they want to start trading in this? How do they accept it? If you've ever used a cryptocurrency, it seems like the very same process, just adapted for GreenCoin. And I guess one of the problems that we saw with and Danny, one of the problems that we saw with Bitcoin when companies finally did start accepting it, and I don't even know if this is really a problem or if this is just how companies are going to handle cryptocurrency in the future, but one of the first things that they did was, yes, we start accepting Bitcoin. That's great, but at the end of every, for some companies, it was at the end of every day, they would empty out their entire Bitcoin wallet for that day and immediately convert it back into US dollar, into the euro, into the Canadian dollar, what have you. No company was comfortable really holding on to a cryptocurrency. Do you see a future where, companies are going to have, we have, $15 million in liquid, US dollars and $10 million in GreenCoin X? Or do you expect companies to really just switch over?
No, I really think that's the future. And the reason that companies don't want to hold on to Bitcoin is like a hot potato. The last one holding the bag could be them, and they don't want that to happen. And you add into the mix wild currency fluctuations, which is a real problem. They're basically at that point gambling on the price of Bitcoin being stable or at least not going down. And so they're reluctant to take that risk. It's like a currency speculation, but in this case, in the case of Bitcoin, it's very wide fluctuations, and so they don't want to take that risk. And frankly, I don't blame them. And that's one of the reasons we set up a treasury operation to try and keep the price of the currency stable. So we have a pretty detailed plan, which is to hold the price of GreenCoin X on a daily basis within a 5% band. So, like, if you like, we're acting like a central bank, keeping the currency stable. And those operations are set up in the Isle of Man, and they're run by a former managing director of a UK bank who is based in the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man is the jurisdiction we chose because A, it has tax benefits, and B, they have a world-class broadband system, which is very useful for this kind of treasury operation. In fact, the Isle of Man is the first government in the world to welcome any cryptocurrency. And we did a joint press release with them at the end of last year as we started operations in the Isle of Man. And we had very nice things from the Prime Minister of the Isle of Man, who's known as the Chief Minister, and the Minister of Economic Development, who's saying very nice things about GreenCoin X. And frankly, that shows why it's a perfect example of how governments will welcome GreenCoin X because they don't see it as a threat, and nor do they see the usage of it as a problem with regard to lack of identification. So again, it's if you like, it's proof of work. We've demonstrated that this is a government-friendly cryptocurrency as opposed to government antagonistic.
Okay, well, this is all very positive. So,
well, it's all very positive, and like the more we talk about it, the more I'm realizing that obviously, GreenBank has, as you said, an investment portfolio that is obviously very reliant on GreenCoin X taking off. So, like, and part of it is that's, you know, quite comforting. Like, it's not like, you know, GreenBank is here to, you know, the more people use it, you know, before you get to deposit into your wallet, you hear a 30-second ad and they make ad revenue off it and they really don't care about the product. It seems like you guys are, you know, you're heavily invested in your own product, and the more people that adopt it, the more people that use it, the more people that embrace it, the better, you know, the better off your returns will be at the end of the day. So if you make a good product that people like and people will use, then you're going to be better. The customer's going to be better. Really, you're just kind of betting on yourself that this is going to be something that people will want and use.
You're exactly right, Ben. That's precisely the business model. And from our perspective, we've also, you know, offered governments, and we've talked to lots of governments over the last 6 to 9 months, and those discussions are ongoing. But we've offered governments the ability to modify the GreenCoinX software in their jurisdiction. For example, the UK has a very important tax element called VAT, which is their form of sales tax. The VAT in the UK is 20%. Well, the VAT is collected on a quarterly basis, and you know, some people don't pay timely, and some people don't pay at all. So what we've offered the government is the ability, should they so desire, of GreenCoinX transactions within the UK, effectively collecting that 20% VAT and remitting it directly to the government server. Well, needless to say, they're very excited about that possibility. Yeah. Or even possibility of China. China does not like Bitcoin one bit. The government of China is very antagonistic towards Bitcoin because the Chinese are using it to bypass their currency control system. Well, we can modify GreenCoinX with the government support so that a Chinese wallet can, you know, happily trade and exchange GreenCoinX within the country. But if they want to send it outside of China, they have to comply with Chinese currency controls or they'll be blocked. These kind of modifications, again, encourage government to say, okay, this is a cryptocurrency we can work with. And if we want to have a particular modification within our jurisdiction, GreenCoinX will do it, and we'll do it for free because it's in their interest to do so. So we're happy to modify the software on a country-by-country basis to make governments comfortable with us, just like we're providing free wallets and free KYC and a commission-free exchange to consumers, all for the same basic approach, which is encourage adoption. With adoption comes demand. With demand, the price of GreenCoinX goes up.
So, all right, what about security passwords? I mean, it's hard to remember all these security passwords. So, how does that make? Does that
very
make
good? Very good question. That's a very good question. It's almost impossible to remember these complex passwords if you have a Bitcoin wallet. There are about 27 digits and numerals in random sequences, some capitalized, some not. It's not possible to remember it, which means you have to write it down somewhere. And if you write it down somewhere, that again is a big vulnerable problem. What if you lose it? What if somebody catches it and opens your wallet with it? What we've done is we've made it very, very simple. So if you open a GreenCoinX wallet, you'll be asked to create your own unique passphrase. It's a phrase, not a password. So, for example, if you decided to say, okay, I love my wife's kneecap as your passphrase, that's a pretty unusual passphrase that the odds are no one will know. And when you put that in, it gets encrypted and converted into digits and numerals. Basically makes it almost impossible to break. And that really is a really secure way. And yet, for you personally, it's very easy to remember that passphrase is unique to you. And you can also use a passphrase in any language. It has no bearing on, it doesn't have to be English. So any language you like will be converted. So again, we're making it very user-friendly to use.
Okay. And talk a little bit about a blockchain. There's lots of talks about using blockchain. What is blockchain, and how does the GreenCoinX blockchain compare to the others?
Well, GreenCoinX blockchain is different from the others because GreenCoinX blockchain is based on identification, and the Bitcoin blockchain and the other cryptocurrency blockchains are based on anonymity. And again, that's a problem. There's a lot of talk and a lot of money invested by the fintech world, the financial technology world, into trying to use blockchains as ways to carry out financial transactions. For example, the New York Stock Exchange has a team working on finding a way to use blockchain, which is basically the Bitcoin blockchain with amendments, as a way of settling share sales. So normally it takes 3 days to do a share settlement. They're trying to figure out a way that they can use a blockchain to record the information on the blockchain and settle it within a few hours or even a few minutes, conceivably. The problem is that those blockchains are anonymous, and you can't have these kind of transactions recorded unless the people are identified. And again, that's where the GreenCoinX blockchain has an advantage. So we see a very long-term and profitable potential in utilizing the GreenCoinX blockchain for fintech purposes. But if you like, that's phase 2 of our efforts. Our first phase is to launch and get adoption for the cryptocurrency itself.
Okay. So is it too soon to change my paper currency into GreenCoinX yet? How can I go about doing that?
Not at all, no. I mean, anybody can open a GreenCoinX wallet anywhere in the world. It's a simple process. You go to a website called xgcwallet.org, and it'll ask you to go through your KYC identification process, which is about a 15-minute process, assuming there aren't any problems with your documentation. And then you can open a wallet, which means you can receive and send GreenCoinX. And if you want to buy some GreenCoinX, you go to sitecrypto.com, which is our affiliated exchange. And on there, you will find, again, you will use the same KYC number as you obtained when you opened the wallet. And you will then open an account at SiteCrypto, and then you can buy and sell GreenCoinX for fiat currency anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Now, having said that, we do block certain countries. So, for example, terrorist nations like Syria are blocked, so they can't open a GreenCoinX wallet or use GreenCoinX within that terrorist state. But other than that, anywhere in the world is amenable.
All right. So, tell me a little bit about, in other words, what fees does the GreenCoinX user pay at this point?
It's a tiny transaction fee, effectively nothing in practical terms. 0.001 of a coin. Wow. And the current price of the coin is plus or minus $1 US. It's about $1.15, I think, is the latest price. So it's a very, very small percentage transaction fee, and you know, to all intents and purposes, it's effectively free.
All right. So at this point, GreenBank is really not going to be making very much money from GreenCoinX, are they?
GreenBank will make money when GreenCoinX is adopted and the price of GreenCoinX goes up, because we have a very significant investment portfolio. So we're looking at a long-term basis. We're not looking for a revenue stream other than the GreenCoinX blockchain, which is a different subject. But from the cryptocurrency itself, we're just encouraging adoption, and with adoption comes demand and a high price for the GreenCoinX itself. And effectively, that's really what happened with the early days of Bitcoin. It exploded in price because of usage and adoption, and we certainly anticipate that will also happen over time with GreenCoinX.
Right. So now, remember we talked about that Bitcoin was so volatile, up and down, and so and you're
what? There's no roller coaster there. I mean, you know, sure, one day it's $1,200 and the next it's $700, but that is just something that comes with the territory.
Well, hopefully not, because GreenCoinX, it's different, right? I mean, what would you say to our listeners who are thinking about this? Why GreenCoinX would be a lot different than this volatility that we've come to know with Bitcoin and other forms of cryptocurrency?
Right. Well, for a start, we have our treasury operation, which has an objective of keeping the currency within a 5% daily band. Now, 5% per day over a month is still a significant change in price, but it's not it's not so volatile that the consumer can't actually anticipate what he's receiving. It's just a problem that has to be dealt with from a financial perspective. And like all currencies, there has to be, for success, there has to be some benign authority overseeing the processing of the transaction and the blockchain. And from our perspective, it's in our interest to make sure the currency is stable, because that's why people will use it. So that's why we set up this whole process. Another major thing we've addressed is what's called blockchain longevity. Now, I can explain that. It's a little bit complex, but basically the blockchain is a series of diverse computers where the transactions are recorded. It's like a big ledger system. And moving coins from one wallet to the next wallet requires a process called mining. Now, mining has connotations of natural resource business like gold. And miners basically have very sophisticated computers whose sole purpose is to solve algorithmic equations on this blockchain. The solving of those equations moves the coin from one wallet to the next wallet. Now, all this is done seamlessly in the background, and the consumer is totally unaware of that process because it happens very, very quickly. Nevertheless, the miners are encouraged to do this because they receive a reward from the blockchain, which generates new coins to the first person who solves that equation. That's why miners do this. The problem is that no one has really addressed the issue of what happens when all the coins are mined. All the coins are mined, the miners have no real incentive to mine. And if the miners have no real incentive to mine, basically the blockchain will stop functioning properly. Now, the Bitcoin world has a sort of an answer by saying there'll be some transactional fees. In other words, the fees per transaction will go up significantly, so that we have a situation where miners are still encouraged to mine in order to get that transactional fee. I personally have serious doubts about that as a viable long-term basis for having a currency. And in my discussions with various governments, they had the same reaction. And, you can't vaguely say, well, it'll be all right in the end. There'll be some form of transactional fee that'll fix it. And it's conceivable that, Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, and they're all basically the same concept of anonymity and the same concept of blockchain structure, that they will stop functioning when the miners no longer have a reason to mine. So we addressed that particular issue too, which is called blockchain longevity. And what we did is we pre-mined 20% of the GreenBank X that can ever be created, and we put those in a non-profit foundation called the Digital Foundation. The chairman of whom is a former vice chairman of Gateway Computers, a highly respected individual. And the whole point of the Digital Foundation is to provide miner incentive rewards for the next 145 years by distributing those coins that are in the ownership of the Digital Foundation to miners as a reward. And that's done by a very sophisticated software program. So now we can say to both users and government that this GreenBank X blockchain will continue to function for the next century and a half, which from our perspective is good enough. There's no guarantees that after a century and a half it will, continue to function, but it's a lot better than the current system, which means it could die at any time when miners have no longer any incentive to mine. So we've addressed the blockchain longevity issue, which is a very important function in order to, again, encourage adoption.
Right.
And that's the whole basis of our efforts. Do everything you possibly can to encourage adoption. So if somebody pops up and says, well, what about this problem? Well, we've addressed it and it's solved.
Right. Well, obviously, it's taken you a number of years to get to this point, and and here you are. You're basically just launching it 3 weeks. So you're obviously, and I know it may be a little early to ask you this, but I'm sure you do have some future plans. What's the next step? Talk a little bit about the road down the road a piece. Where do you want to take this, Danny?
Well, currently our focus is on marketing GreenBank X and explaining what it is and encouraging both retailers and consumers to understand the advantages of using it. And so that's really the focus for the rest of 2016, effectively a marketing campaign to explain what GreenCoinX is all about and to encourage adoption and usage. And on a long-term basis, we feel that we have a very good investment portfolio which will benefit all our efforts. Just to give you an example, when we were launched as a proof of concept in the middle of last year, the coin GreenCoinX was just obviously under a penny. The current price, as I said, is around $1.15. If GreenCoinX had the same market cap as Bitcoin, which we think is a very reasonable objective, then the price of GreenCoinX would be over $60 per coin. So you can see the upside potential for GreenCoinX. And it's another reason why we do anticipate that investors will pile into GreenCoinX at the early stages of its launch for the same reasons that investors piled into the early days of Bitcoin. There are a lot of Bitcoin millionaires walking around that basically picked it up for peanuts. And I certainly hope that that will be the case for GreenCoinX too.
And the ones picked it up for peanuts, basically, they picked it up for like a penny or two, and then it rose to like, what, $1,200 a coin or something like that. And
that's right.
And
that's right.
And then what did they just sold them at that point and cashed it in?
Well, I think a lot of people sold and a lot of people bought. Like it's like a stock, you know. There are buyers and there are sellers. But the reality is, it went up in a spectacular fashion, and it went down in a spectacular fashion. And perhaps the price currently, which is bouncing between 200 and 450, that's what the range has been the last few months. Maybe that's the price for to reflect the usage base. And the usage base, as I said, is really those who want to continue to stay anonymous. But we feel the usage base for GreenCoinX is much larger than that, namely consumers who will benefit from using GreenCoinX because it's a fast and inexpensive way to move money around. And that, you know, doesn't even take into account the unbanked, the 2 billion unbanked. So we feel that our user base will be very large and has a potential to be much larger than Bitcoin.
So you don't think that the attraction of anonymity and all that implies really is the cash cow for cyber currency? You're banking on the fact that cyber currency will offer speed of delivery, almost instantaneous, no heavy fees. I mean, the average person does a wire transfer, an ACH transfer. It can take a couple of days at least, and you pay a certain percentage. And if you're doing small transactions, that can, as you say, can really add up. And there's really nothing.
Exactly.
There's nothing out there. I mean, that's good. I mean, if you're looking to pay people quickly, I mean, there's PayPal, but they hit you with fees, rather hefty fees. We've got Western Union will do wire transfers, but they also have hefty fees. There's not that much out there that will allow you
That's
to.
correct.
Well, yeah, you just slip the cash in an envelope, and 49 cents, you send it anywhere you want.
Yeah, but there are dangers involved with that too, and there's only so much cash you can put
That's
in a box, you know. So,
but the reality is also that companies like PayPal and Western Union, they're all dependent on the banking system. So ultimately, a big reason for the charges that they then pass on to the consumers, plus their profit margin, is the bank they have to pay. The moving money around the world is basically dependent on the banking system. Moving money around the world using GreenCoinX is totally independent of the banking system, and that allows and enables the speed of movement, because it doesn't have to go through dozens of hands to get to the right spot, and B, there isn't lots of charges in between as the money's moved from one wallet to the next wallet. That's a very significant scenario.
Do you foresee companies like PayPal or Western Union using things like cyber currency, or are they going to strictly be cash?
I think they will use cyber currency because it's easier to move money around using cryptocurrency than it is using the banking system. Why would they not ultimately adopt it?
There you go.
You know, they can always convert back to the banking system. You know,
Yeah.
The reality is, if you use PayPal, sending your money from one PayPal account to another PayPal account is done via the banking system, with PayPal adding a fee on top.
Yeah.
So if you remove the banking system and put GreenCoinX in the middle, the fees will get drastically reduced, which benefits everybody.
Well, listen, Danny, we're
except the poor old bank.
Yeah, Danny, we're pretty much out of time. This has been extremely enlightening, and Ben and I want to thank you for taking the time to explain what it is that you're doing, and wish you the best of luck. I know it's only 3 weeks, and maybe we should have you back, in 6 months or something, and see how things are coming. Yes, seeing how it's coming along.
I'd like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. Well, again, Danny Wettrich, CEO of GreenBank Capital Incorporated. Again, the cryptocurrency is called GreenCoinX. You can go and see it at their website. We actually have a link at our website at computeramerica.com, and you can check it out for yourself, or you can go to the greenbankcapitalinc.com. There's a website there. You can look at it for yourself, or just register, with GreenCoinX and try it out for yourself. Danny, thank you so much for being with us here on today's show.
My pleasure.
All right. Take care. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. There you go. All right. Really interesting stuff.
Cryptocurrency, like you said, a lot of people see it as very, very revolutionary. It just needs to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it got there before with Bitcoin. I'm sure it'll get there again. Hey, we've got some... We've got some news stories coming up here. One, a story about a man who shot a blue laser at a ferry, not at a plane, but at a ferry. Just a ferry, a little boat going across the... Got hit with a $100,000 fine. Good grief. So we got stories like that and more. Amazon's Kindle Oasis puts a function over form. We're going to talk about that too. Lots of great stories coming up. We're going to pause just for a moment. We'll be back with hour 2 of the Computer America Show.
Broadcasting live, it's the only national radio talk show on computers to air every weeknight. Computer America, hosted by national columnist Craig Crossman. The first hour's behind us, but there's still more of tech news, tech talk, and your phone calls. We're being beamed nationwide at computeramerica.com. You got computer problems? Bring them on. You're listening to Computer America. Computers run the world, and we run computers. Call us or send us an email to live@computeramerica.com.
Hello and welcome into hour 2 of the nation's longest running nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers. This is the Computer America Show, and I'm your host, Craig Crossman.
And I'm your co-host, Ben.
And again, we had the CEO of GreenBank Capital Inc., Danny Wettrich, here in the first hour talking about the brand new cryptocurrency, GreenCoinX. Only been out for about 3 weeks. You heard about it here first at Computer America. If you missed it, you can still listen to it. We archive all of our shows at computeramerica.com. Head over there, any page on the pull down on the menu bar, you'll see it says archive. Just click that. You'll see all the different places that you can listen to the show. You can listen to it on Apple's iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. We on the Blog Talk Radio Network, on the TuneIn Radio Network, on the IRN Radio Network, all carry our show. So again, head over there and you'll see all the different places you can listen to it. If you missed it, you can listen to it. We even have our own YouTube channel. We have all the links to the different, so you can actually watch the show as well as listen to it if you missed that. It's all at computeramerica.com, the internet home of our radio broadcast. Really interesting. First, I picked up a lot of things that I did not know about cybercurrency.
It's a very nuanced subject. Like, it's not something you're going to hear about once and be like, oh yeah, I completely understand, how cryptocurrency works. It's a thing that you really have to hear about over and over and over again from a lot of different angles, not just from the people who are propagating them, but by the people who are using them, the people who want to, actually do business with them. You have to hear it from a lot of different angles before it finally starts to click that this is a currency replacement. And that's so foreign to so many people that, it's definitely good to have a lot of different people on talking about it. So I'm glad that Danny was able to join us.
Yes, exactly. Very informative. It's going to be a pretty interesting week this week here on Computer America. Again, if you head over to computeramerica.com you can go under, for example, under the press releases, news and info on the menu bar there, and it says guest calendar. You click on that, and you can see, you can just click on that, and it'll take you to our public calendar. You can see all the different shows and people who are scheduled to be on the program this week. Of course, Mike Cermak is going to be on Wednesday, techguy.org. That's a fun show on the 4th of May, and he'll be able to say, "May the 4th be with you," too. I just realized. So, but all the different shows coming up, again, you can see it on the calendar at computeramerica.com. Everything you really need to know about our show is right there at computeramerica.com. Okay, well, as I said, we have lots of interesting stories to do. Should we just start to do some computer news, or is there anything else you wanted to mention?
I think I think I'm ready to go.
All right, let's do it. Today's computer and technology news is brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. You can visit them at slimwareutilities.com to clean, speed up, and optimize your Windows system. Slimwareutilities.com. Check them out. You're going to be very happy that you did. You're going to thank us for it. Please, slimwareutilities.com.
All right, so let us jump right into this, and trust me, there are a lot of really good news stories. And you know what? I think we're going to start off with one that is hopeful for the future, because it's Monday. I feel like we could all use some pickup news. So this first story that we're going to do comes from electric.co. So obviously it's going to be focused around electricity. And yes, this article goes on about how the price of solar power just fell 50% in 16 months.
Wow.
So, huge decreases. So, yeah. And by the way, Craig, there's your tower.
Yeah.
The tallest building in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
For everyone there watching the video portion, there's a picture of Dubai with the tower. But yeah, so Dubai received a bid of just 0.0299 cents per kilowatt hour for 800 megawatts of solar power. The price represents the lowest yet recorded for solar power. This again is coming from the Dubai Electric and Water Authority, and yeah, that was their bid to provide power for Dubai, and at just under 3 cents per kilowatt hour. That is crazy cheap. So in the US in 2014, with incentives, the utility scale solar projects averaged at about 5 cents a kilowatt hour. And again, that is with incentives. So on this bid alone, 5 companies bid below 0.045 without subsidies. So, obviously, like if you get 5 cents, with subsidies, and then you get even below that, where it's just flat, here's what we can do, even better than what we can do here. Crazy impressive. So in 2015, we saw Dubai sign a deal at a fixed rate of about 6 cents over 25 years with no incentives. In the summer of 2015, Austin, Texas also got about 4 cents a kilowatt hour. So the price per kilowatt just fell about 50%, and it did it in less than 16 months. So going back to 2014, you're getting about 6 cents per kilowatt hour, and now out in Dubai and also in Mexico and Morocco, you're getting about 3 cents per kilowatt hour. So to put this into perspective, it'd be like your power bill, instead of over the course of a year and a half, just, going up 10%, whatever, just cut in half. Just because because solar panels are getting much more efficient, and obviously wider adoption is also helping, because more companies are willing to invest in these solar panels. Really doesn't matter about the volatility of the oil market when you're getting your electricity from the sun, which is a pretty big constant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so the prices of the Sunshot Initiative. Oh, actually, I just kind of navigated away from it. But yeah, so the price of the Sunshot Initiative once is without incentives. So Yeah, they're talking about Warren Buffett. This article is obviously very, very heavy about the prices as it goes through 2016, and they're projecting that even projecting that through 2018 they could fall another 30%.
Yeah.
So, long story short, all these figures, all these numbers, they all add up to at about every year, every 2 years, every 3 years, solar electricity generation is getting 30% more efficient, 50% more efficient, just cutting the cost that it takes to produce energy. And I think here is your uplifting part of it, is that hopefully within 5 years, within 10 years, it's only going to make sense to generate your electricity through very, very efficient solar panels. It's only going to make sense to do it through wind turbines, renewable energy sources. They were a big deal a couple years ago when the oil prices were, or I'm sorry, when gas prices were like $5 a piece. A piece means a gallon, but when they're like $5 a gallon. But nowadays it's like $2. So who really cares? We can eat that out of pocket. But even when people stop kind of paying attention to it, efficiency has gone through the roof. And even with cheap gas, at the end of the day, solar is still going to beat it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just looking at that building at Dubai, and it is just, who do you think lives on the top floor of that thing?
I don't know.
Is there enough room in there to have a condo? It's going to have to be pretty small.
Craig, focus on the electricity. This is good stuff.
I know it is. It really is. But it's no secret. Solar is certainly going to, and they keep improving the technology behind solar panels. You were just talking about this like a week or two ago, about that the efficiency of solar panels is just increasing by leaps and bounds. Certainly going to.
And they even said that Europe, their own benchmark, which I think is going to be blown out of the water, is that they're hoping by 2050 they get about 2 cents per kilowatt hour. And I think if certain places are already getting 3 cents today in 40 years, it's going to be a no-brainer that why would you burn fossil fuels when you can just set up a couple panels and get the same results?
Yeah, exactly. All right. We continue to do computer and technology news. This one from Ars Technica, I teased at the beginning. There's a guy, we hear stories about people who have these little pocket lasers, and they've improved enormously. They started with red lasers, and then they went to
green
lasers, and now they actually have blue lasers, which are supposedly even more penetrating and powerful. Evidently, there is a gentleman who shot his blue laser, not at an airplane, but at a boat, a ferry. And basically, he was slapped with a $100,000 fine. And he also may face a trial in June on felony charges. According to the story.
Folks, we know that we have a particularly tech-oriented crowd. We know that a lot of you may have experimented with lasers at one point or another. And we have advised constantly on the show. We do every news story we can find about idiots who shoot their laser at, police helicopters, at planes, and blah, blah, blah. And they get prison sentence. They get fines. They get all this horrible stuff that happens to them. Just don't shoot your lasers at people.
Right. Well, boats now, and I would tend to think anything that's any object, cars, whatever. And here's one with a boat. And this again by Joe Mullen from Ars Technica. He said that a man who pointed a high-powered blue laser at the Washington State Ferry last year has been ordered to pay $100,000 civil penalty by the U.S. Coast Guard in Seattle. And it was determined by the Coast Guard investigators to have shot a high-powered blue laser at the ferry while it was on a run from Malkitio to Clinton in October. He pointed the laser from the deck of another ship, which was passing by the other one. So the laser hit the ferrymaster and first mate of the other boat, and the incident resulted in eye injuries to both men. Holy mackerel. The chief mate's vision still hasn't recovered fully a week after the laser strike. So he's accused of violating a safety and security zone as well as interference with the safe operation of the boat. The fine will be reviewed and finalized by a hearing officer in Arlington, Virginia. They go on to say that firing a laser at a vessel is extremely dangerous and directly interferes with the safe movement of the commercial vessels and the Coast Guard's ability to conduct search and rescue operations. The October incident was the first laser strike to affect a Washington state ferry. News reports said the suspect was caught because a deckhand on the ship saw two men using the laser and identified them to Washington State Patrol after the ferry docked. In recent years, laser strikes against aircraft, obviously, we've heard a lot of stories there, but basically, now he's also facing felony charges related to the ferry laser strike, as well as an incident last July in which he was accused of shining a laser into a police officer's eyes. He pled not guilty to the ferry charge in April, and he will face a trial in June. He was released without bail on the condition that he not possess any lasers. And this is again toward the
So do it once. You know, you get a new toy, you take it out, and you stupidly point it at a boat, and you're like, you know, hey, one time it's toy, you can't control yourself, and you know, shame on you. But you know, stuff happens. But now that I hear that he was also charged with a felony a year before. I mean, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah.
This guy should not be anywhere near lasers if he can't keep them away from people's eyes.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, first of all, you don't need a blue laser or if you need a laser pointer, get a little red one. You know, get a little weak one, but it'll be more than sufficient to do the job for your laser pointing. Other than that, there's really no practical application for these devices.
For anyone curious, if you go out there and you look up, you know, blue laser, the only thing that really comes up is a laser about the size of a, you know, medium-sized flashlight. I mean, these things are serious, you know, lasers. They you know, some of them are even the size of like a big mag light. They're incredibly powerful. And I can completely see why, you know, a week after, you know, the captain and the first mate were hit in the eyes with this thing, I can see why a week later they're still experiencing problems, because they definitely fried something in the back of their eyes.
Yeah, not good.
So yeah, folks, you know, point it at the floor around your pets, do this, do that. Just don't point it at people's eyes. Very simple.
Don't even point it. You shouldn't even own these things. There's no justification for owning something like this. You shouldn't have it. There's no practical application for it, for anything that you would be doing, you know, around your
other
home.
Than they're fun.
Yeah, they're fun.
That's it.
All right.
So from that one, and let's go over to a blurring of services, or at least a blurring of traditional and new. So here we have Hulu, and they are considering a live TV service for cord cutters. So this is the weirdest thing ever. So, you know, this pulling by the way from Daniel Cooper from Engadget. And so, yeah, Hulu is working on a live TV service for cord cutters. The company is reportedly developing a $40 a month service that'll stream live television to your home. And, you know, long story short, let's put it this way. The whole reason sites like Netflix, like Hulu, you know, like any of the others became massively popular was because people realized that you could get quality entertainment that distracts you without the need for a massive cable bundle. You can watch what you want when you want it, you know, very, very convenient, anywhere you are, because you can access it from any browser, and you didn't have to pay for all the frivolous stuff you would through a cable provider. And that is what made, you know, services like Hulu popular. Well, lo and behold, according to the Wall Street Journal, they said that Hulu has ambitions to square off against both domestic cable providers as well as Sling TV and PlayStation Vue. So rather than trying to broadcast every channel in existence, it's claimed that the company will focus on quality over quantity. And given that Hulu is part owned by Disney and 20th Century Fox, probably ABC, ESPN, and Fox will be linchpins for the new platform. And of course, the same report explains that Hulu will enable customers to record their own shows in the cloud rather than on DVR. So they're essentially turning something that was successful because it was not like classic, cable television. And Hulu is saying, you know what people really want? Something more akin to classic cable television.
Really?
How is this making sense to any, in any regards?
Well, is it going to be cheaper than classic?
Not really. At $40 a month, if you get into certain promotion deals for, kind of baseline packages with cable, you can get as low as, $25, $30 a month for, strictly, base package cable. And Hulu's going for $40.
But is it base package, or are you going to get specialty channels?
Well, again, something I just said two seconds ago was that Hulu is going to be aiming for quality over quantity, so that they are only going to have, as they said, probably, ABC, ESPN, and Fox, and related shows.
Okay.
So,
okay.
There's not going to be that much you're going to be able to choose from, because the service is only going to be, carried through a certain, the content is only going to be provided by a certain number of studios. So, how much is that really worth, and is that worth $40? And at the end of the day, this is aimed at, no doubt, at cord cutters. Would cord cutters be interested in a $40 a month package that, let's face it, you're already subscribing to HBO, Netflix, Amazon, all of those.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, all these are just going to add up to $100 a month.
It's going to be the same thing.
It's going to be the exact same thing, except with the convenience of watching it over the internet. But I'm having a really, really hard time about how is Hulu thinking that cord cutting, the phenomena, is is being caused by the hatred of having to sit on someone else's time, and also sit on someone else's time and watch what they tell you to watch when you want to watch it. Time shifting is a great thing, and they also hate the fact that you are purchasing this huge bundle when you only want to watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it. It's kind of pay for what you watch instead of paying for everything and then watch all you please. And now here comes Hulu. I think they're pretty detached from what their customer base actually wants.
You don't think anyone's going to take this because you think what they're offering is not what people want?
I think what they're offering is too close to a traditional cable package. It's not price competitive at $40 a month. That puts it, 2-3 times the price of any other, subscription-based model out there just for this one service. And then, who's really going to be up for paying the steep cost and then only watching a select number of things that you have to manage? Like you have to say, hey, quote unquote, record this, and then you can watch it at another time. If you don't say, hey, quote unquote, record this, then you miss it. That's not even a la carte.
Mm-hmm.
That's simply, an online DVR.
Yeah. There doesn't seem to be any answer. I mean, everybody's coming close or something, but there's no one company that's saying, we're going to offer.
Netflix is doing pretty well.
Yeah, but you still can't get live programming. You can't get, ABC News and, the local state. You can't get your local stations on Netflix.
I think the customer base that is cord cutting, that is, Netflix's thing. It's like, why would Netflix care when, let's say 50% of the people who subscribe to Netflix aren't even in the US. So why would they care about local US stations? Yeah. If 50% of people who aren't even in the US, why do you have to have live sports? They don't care about that either.
That's true. But I'm saying for the people who are here, who are looking for a solution, who are cord cutters, there doesn't seem to be anything unless you subscribe to abc.com and cbs.com and nbc.com. You do each one of those so you can get their program, but then that still isn't going to get you your local stations.
I feel like if you're a cord cutter, you make that conscious decision
Yeah.
that you will not be getting local news and things like that anymore. Like you can go online and find all that written up in articles, or watch it through a website. That's pretty easy to do. But as for the local channel, I think that's something that you consciously give up when you
Yeah.
move to cord cutting.
Yeah, at least for now, unless somebody comes up, with a service and says, "Hey, we're going to provide you all your local channels." That may
That's all cable. I mean, no, really, you're asking for a cable channel without the cable, and that is, I feel like the two are too closely tied together that you can't really decouple that.
Hmm.
I'm having a hard time picturing in any world where you will see your local news channels out of your cable packages. I think if cable dies, I think local cable news is dead as well. Then it's only online publications and kind of video kind of stuff. It's if cable died tomorrow, then so would the local news.
Well, I don't know. I obviously the jury is still out with this, and we have a ways to go yet.
Well, no, we're not really debating the whole, should you, shouldn't you cord cut. We're talking about Hulu and if a live TV service from Hulu is something people even want.
Yeah, I don't think they're offering anything that isn't already out there from what I see here at this point. Okay, Ben and I could continuing to do computer.
There you go.
Exactly. We did a story on this, I think, way back, but I wanted to touch on this again. For all of you out there who, who wish they would have a hoverboard, and they've had this device, this thing is just absolutely amazing. This is it's called the Flyboard, and it's a hoverboard that is breaking hoverboard records for hoverboards. Basically, again, this story from Popular Science, they're saying that we are in the golden age of hoverboards. So yeah, there's those motorized scooters, which the ones that they catch fire. Those aren't really hoverboards, by the way. But we're talking about an actual flying airborne board, which can hover a 905 feet over a lake. And that's exactly what he did. He more than this gentleman, Frankie Zapata, of Zapata Racing, more than octupled that flying record, flying 7,388 feet over the sea in the south of France using only a machine strapped to his feet. This thing is amazing. We have a video of it too. This puts us in one of the best possible futures, an aviation race between hoverboard pilots and designers. Basically, and they actually have several different videos, and you can see this thing. But basically, it looks like a miniature jet, but it's the size of a little size of
to me, it doesn't even look like a miniature jet. It looks like a UFO saucer kind of deal, like the cheesy ones from like the 50s and 60s. And he's kind of standing on it.
Yeah, he's standing on it, and he's able to. He goes over water. He can go over land.
Well, obviously, hoverboard don't care what you're over. It it just works.
And you're watching the video now on the live feed, and this is an amazing device. Can you imagine showing up? Imagine showing up in the park with one of these things.
I hear the flight time is it's still pretty horrendous even. Let's see, the duration of the flights. Did they have how far he was able to go?
Yeah, no, it wasn't very far, but they're continuing to improve that too.
Like the old records, I think, had to be broken sooner rather than later. Like the old records were 45 seconds worth of hover time, and it's like, what possible use we have for 45 seconds of flight? But yeah, they're getting better and better, and I can't wait to see it. But
well, it's like
I'm glad they were able to at least take off the cumbersome cable. Like now they're completely standalone, because some of the first records were they were connected to these large generators that would generate, obviously, the power to turn the fans and, allow it to hover. They completely cut the cord, and now it's all with built-in batteries. So that's nice, at least.
Yeah. And it's small. I mean, this is a small little thing. It's a small.
I'd say about the size of a pallet, that you would see anywhere, like the wooden pallets.
Yeah, probably even smaller. And at least width-wise, it's very, very small. And he's just standing on the thing, and then the way he leans forward back, and this is how he steers it. And
very, very far from any sort of consumer model.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You'll have to stay happy with your current iteration of the hoverboard, which is, as Craig said, the little plastic thing. But hey, it's a beginning. We're a long way from Spider-Man or Green Goblin flying, hovercraft.
But it looks a lot like that. It looks like something the Green Goblin would wear. I mean, would use. It's
not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Okay. So what else we got? Oh, do we have time for another one? I'm coming up to
that. We can at least give it a start if you'd like. How about this one? We will talk about coming up how Amazon Kindle Oasis. Now, the Kindle is a prized device for a lot of people out there. It's really, really great to read books on. You don't have to worry about that glaring LED LCD screen. So yeah, they have a new one out called Kindle Oasis, and they're saying that it finally takes function over form in being a little bit thicker, a little bit bulkier, but at the end of the day, they're hoping a much more pleasant reading experience.
And also, we'll talk about that. We've heard about the Large Hadron Collider, the Big Bang machine. It got shut down temporarily, but not by a technological thing. It got shut down by a weasel.
That did happen.
A little tiny weasel. So cute. Even a picture of it. These stories and more coming up. This is the Computer America Show. We got a news tips bulletin review from Marty Winston, a brand new one about the Kirk Guard. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Computer America Show. Hi, this is Craig Crossman, host of the Computer America Show. Long before Vistaprint asked me to tell you about them, my wife and I have been using Vistaprint for years, making business cards, having the Computer America logo placed on the polo shirts we use at conventions like CES, even printing a business card for our personal lives with our home address and phone number. In fact, Vistaprint offers tons of custom products for home and office needs, and Vistaprint absolutely guarantees you'll love their products every time, or they will make it right. In fact, they'll give you 500 business cards for just $9.99 when you enter my promo code Craig at checkout. Just go to their website at www.vistaprint.com and see how easy it is to design your own stuff using their web-based custom design service. Remember to use my code Craig and save up to 50% over their regular pricing. So don't wait. Go to Vistaprint.com and order today. Looking for a best friend? Brother Wolf Animal Rescue has your best friend waiting just for you. The mission of Brother Wolf Animal Rescue is to help build a sustainable, no-kill community where no dogs or cats are ever killed for population control, where true euthanasia is reserved only for animals who are irremediably suffering, or for animals who are truly a threat to society and with no hope of rehabilitation. Brother Wolf's staff and volunteers go door to door, neighborhood by neighborhood, to educate citizens about local resources available for at-risk pets and to help their families connect with those resources. Brother Wolf's community-based approach to no-kill helps keep family pets healthy, happy, and in their homes and out of the local shelter system in the first place. For more information or to make a tax-deductible donation to this wonderful 501c3 organization, visit their website at www.bwar.org. Help to realize Brother Wolf's vision when no animal is euthanized for lack of a home.
Who's a good boy?
Politicians don't know that inaction is two words. I'm Marty Winston with the News Tips Bulletin Review for Computer America. This time, kick guard. Did you ever wonder, when bad guys kick in a door, what breaks? It's not the door or the deadbolt, but the door jamb, which tends to be a half-inch thick soft pine board. The force of the kick turns the deadbolt into a hammer, striking midway across it, near the line that's been weakened by the screws that hold the striker plate. When you see photos of kicked in doors, that's always where the wood splits. So a cop who's kicked in his share of doors came up with an answer, the Kick Guard Shield. It's a 14-gauge steel frame that stops the split from happening. It installs behind the jamb on the side opposite the striker plate. Its fore and aft flanges brace the wood and absorb the impact while also spreading it so there's less single-point stress. That jamb won't split, short of a hit from a 15,000-pound ape with a black belt. Bottom line, no bad guy will ever kick past a door that Kick Guard is holding fast. Marty Winston, News Tips Bulletin for Computer America.
You should never give the product's weakness away in the review. You hear that? Any black belt wielding gorillas are going to come right through that door.
Yeah.
And that's the last person you want through your door.
That's true.
I am sure. So, welcome back to the Computer America Show. 33 minutes past the hour. We are doing computer and technology news. Brought to you by Somewhere Utilities. So I've made an executive decision. There's a new Kindle out. Go check it out if you're interested in Kindles. Turns out I'm actually not. Interesting. So instead, we are moving on with our next news story, where we are going to talk about LG's new fingerprint sensor. And it is a button above the iPhone.
Yeah.
In that you don't need a button.
No button.
No button, no little sensor in a particular place. So let us read on as Engadget John Fingus. And yeah, existing phone fingerprint readers are less than ideal. When they're on the back, you can't sign in with your phone sits on your desk or on the front, they chew up valuable device real estate. So on the side, they're tiny, and that's where LG's InnoTech might just come to the rescue. So they said they've developed a fingerprint sensor that hides just under the cover of the glass on a mobile device, saving space by giving your digits an easy target. So on top of that, it can actually be more effective than a dedicated button. It's extremely accurate with a failure rate of just 0.002. So let's see, 0.1 means every 1,000 attempts, it gets one wrong. 0.01 means every 10,000 attempts. So it will get 2 attempts wrong every 10,000.
100,000.
You're right, 100,000. Every 100,000 attempts, it will get 2 wrong.
Yep.
Very, very accurate. And the stealthy approach protects the reader against scratches and water. So LG hasn't said how soon you could expect to see the undercover biometric tech in action. And it hasn't named any customers. So the company is a big and of course, it's reasonable to believe that LG itself will be using its own technology that it has developed. The company is a big proponent of both fingerprint readers and extremely space-efficient devices. The real question is whether other big companies will bite. Will Apple look to license this technology? Probably not. They'll probably look to develop their own side by side. Or will Samsung, also who is a competitor, be looking into this as well? So yeah, LG cracked the code, was able to get a fingerprint reader underneath the glass and save that button. Because if you look at any modern, especially iPhones, I'm sure there are Android phones that have other features like they were talking about with a fingerprint reader on the back side or on the side. But if you look at any sort of iPhone, you'll see that the home button, which technically I guess doesn't need to be there. If the whole thing could be, if the whole screen could be your home button, then that would be much, much more convenient.
Exactly.
Imagine a world where you lay your hand on the device, and no matter which way you grab it, it automatically opens because it's yours, and you lay your hand on it.
Yep.
Super convenient.
Would be very convenient, and but again, we're not going to see that anytime soon.
Well, I mean, they have it done. LG has the technology.
Yeah, they did. Well, hopefully we'll see it soon. Okay,
you want to do the next one?
No, I'm going to do this next one. Why would this one is from a company called a publication called Thoreau. It's official. Chrome has overtaken Internet Explorer for the most popular desktop browser. See, at the end of every month, using public data sources, you can take a look at trends in the desktop and browser markets, and the day has finally arrived where Chrome is now more popular than Internet Explorer. Again, according to Net Market Share, they state, according to their data, from over 40,000 websites for the month of April, that Chrome has 41.66% of the browser market share, while Internet Explorer has 41.35%, which is a small margin of victory for Google and its Chrome browser. But because this is such a small margin, he says, I originally titled the post as Google ties Microsoft for the most popular browser, but because there's a margin. But basically, if you look at the numbers, they did beat them out. Okay. Now, what about the other browsers? Well, obviously they have Edge, Microsoft Edge. It's not represented because, quite frankly, it doesn't have much of the market at this point. Not many people are using Microsoft Edge. And he says the growth.
Well, they said that Edge might actually have just about 3% of the market. So that puts it actually a little bit above even Opera.
Yes, it does.
They're just saying that that the net applications that like participating websites have to install and kind of lend their data to to the research firm, and they haven't really updated with the kind of markers to show this person is using Edge. So it's out there, it's getting some adoption, but obviously nowhere near the top.
I was surprised that Firefox had such a small slice of the pie. It's the next
9.76. They've taken a beating. I mean, at one point they were 20-30% of the whole market, and ever since Chrome has come along, they've been taking a beating.
Yeah. The growth by Chrome should not be too surprising, as Microsoft has left Internet Explorer behind for Edge, but unfortunately the Edge browser available to the majority of Windows 10 users is subpar experience, as it lacks basic features like extensions. With that being said, the Windows 10 update coming later this year will make Edge a much better offering, which could impact Chrome's growth. However, this is a big milestone for Google, as their browser faced an uphill battle against Internet Explorer when it was introduced back in 2008. Considering that the web is a vastly different place today than it was back in 2008, having options is a good thing, as it forces Microsoft, Google, and Mozilla, people who make Firefox, to keep pushing boundaries as the web advances and consumers more of our daily lives. So there it is. Interesting picture, though. Interesting web chart that Firefox is so small.
That is what surprised you. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised that Microsoft Internet Explorer holds so much. I mean, we advocate here on the show all the time. We've had Opera on the show. We've had Firefox on the show. Talking about the alternative browsers that you can use and how really at the end of the day, it's safer, because these third-party browsers, they bake in a lot of features, including things like, redirecting you away from dangerous websites. They, block pop-up ads that can be malware. They, just alternative to Internet Explorer browsers are just so much more secure. And, just from a safety standpoint, I'm surprised 41% are still using them. It has to be the corporate world that is keeping that number afloat.
It is. I'm sure it is. It has to be the corporate world, because people are so used to it and have been using it for so long. But as you mentioned, Chrome really is making a dent.
Chrome is making a dent. And, well, now it's not even Chrome making a dent. Chrome is the dent. Chrome is the pie. And now everyone else is taking the dent out of Chrome at 41.56% of the market. So, yeah, Chrome, I use Chrome, and I know a lot of our correspondents use Chrome. At the end of the day, if you really invest yourself into the Chrome ecosystem, if you trust that Google will not do away with these services anytime soon, if you really invest yourself, you'll find Chrome, there really is not a more convenient browser out there.
It's interesting. Safari is the fourth in the chain, and then Opera. Safari. I use Safari. You know when I use Safari? There's
iPhone.
only no. Well, yeah, I use it, but on my iPhone, that's true. But you're right. But on my computer, do you know when I use Safari?
Nope.
One thing that I use it for, and that's when Apple has their live conferences. Because guess what? Any other browser you use, they purposely made it that you can only watch the live video if you're using Safari. I've seen it time and time again.
What a dumb thing to do.
They do it. So if you want to watch Apple, the keynote, the Worldwide Developer Conference, any of their videos live, you have to use Safari. So,
yep, and that, of course, is just a company who puts out a product and the product does not have that good of an adoption rate. So they're like, hey, it's our product. We have to be friendly to it. So we're gonna force you to do this. It's just like with Tidal. When Beyonce, of course, Tidal is owned by Beyonce's husband. So she released her new album as an exclusive on Tidal, where it's some of that very, very easy to get publicity that you just have to, because hey, you're related.
Yeah.
So, well, if we're done with that one, I think we'll move on to a different story. And here is one that I've been looking forward to for a long time. A little unfortunate that it's a TV series instead of a movie, but take what you can get. And this is a kind of a personal passion of mine, because the Wheel of Time series, the book series, came out in the early 90s, late 80s, and continued through. I think it was just finished in like 2011, 2012. It took like 30 years for this for this book series to finally get finished. Unfortunately, the passing of Robert Jordan obviously did kind of set it back a bit, but it was finished. It had a wonderful conclusion, and I was looking forward to it. So the Wheel of Time, it was wrapped up with a nice little bow. It was it was a great story from beginning to end. And now it seems like someone out there might be trying to give it the Game of Thrones treatment. So pulling this from Ars Technica, Andrew Cunningham, and the Wheel of Time turns into a quote cutting edge TV series. So, and they have another quote here saying, "Look for the official announcement coming soon from a major studio." So, for everyone out there who knew, there was a rough false start, but it looks like Robert Jordan's fantasy epic, The Wheel of Time, will be coming to television after all. And of all places, Robert Jordan's widow, Harriet McDougal, announced on the Google Plus page, of all places, not Twitter, not Facebook, Google Plus, who owns the copyright to the novels and has controlled the franchise's direction ever since Jordan's death in 2007. They have a quote here saying, "Wanted to share with you the exciting news about The Wheel of Time. Legal issues have been resolved. The Wheel of Time will become a cutting-edge TV series. I could not be more pleased. Look for the official announcement coming from a major studio soon, Harriet." So, of course, optioning for the Wheel of Time, it only makes sense given the appetite for TV adaptations of dense, sprawling fantasy series. As we've seen with HBO's Game of Thrones and Starz' Outlander, have both been successful, and the Wheel of Time is a firmly established property that has the added benefit of actually being a finished story. That's one thing that the Wheel of Time does not have, or that's one thing that the Wheel of Time has over Game of Thrones, is that HBO, with the Game of Thrones, they got to a point where the television show actually caught up and needed to progress faster than the written novelizations were. So, George R.R. Martin actually had to develop a new script and essentially a new storyline that was exclusive to the television show, as opposed to what had already been established in the books. And you can yell about that all day long, but suffice to say, that led to that can lead to some rather unsavory plot points in the Game of Thrones, because of just the necessity of having to film and tape and act and edit all of that together, when you also at the same time have to write the source material. I mean, it's obviously not a smooth process. The Wheel of Time, as I said, books 1 through 14 done. So yeah, The article finishes up saying that the Wheel of Time spans about 14 books, though it was originally planned as a 6, then 12 book series. Jordan lived to complete the first 11 novels, and McDougall chose Brandon Sanderson to finish the series based on his notes. So Red Eagle Entertainment produced an awkward TV pilot of a possible TV series on the FXX last year. But that did not have anyone's approval from the estate of Robert Jordan. And for anyone out there who saw it, it was an atrocious thing that we are all happy did not become the official Wheel of Time movie, or I'm sorry, Wheel of Time TV series, because it would have done it no justice whatsoever.
You read all the books, right, as I recall. Right?
Yes, I did. I've read them numerous times.
Yes, I remember you reading them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're great. I have a stack of them right here next to me. They, each one, like, that was the book series that labeled me a nerd. When people would, come up to my desk and pick up my book that was sitting on the corner of my desk, and they'd be like, "Oh, I thought this was a dictionary," and no, it was just
they're incredibly thick.
A book. Yes, they some of them span as long as about 1,300 pages. Like, they're quite thick, and of course a lot of that is the flowery way that Robert Jordan kind of writes the stories. But at the end of the day, Wheel of Time getting a television show, yay, finally. And look for an announcement soon. So if you are a fan of this, there are millions upon millions of people who read these things, growing up through the 90s and early 2000s. They a lot of people liked them. And now they're saying that this is going to be a cutting edge TV series. So think Game of Thrones type of television series.
Very, very cool.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, again. I have not watched read the Wheel of Time, but obviously it's something that has a very large following,
huge following. But it's kind of one of the series where it's timeless. You can pick it up now, and I think it still holds up very, very well. I've read book series that do not hold up very well, and it's sad to see. But Wheel of Time definitely holds up, and it I was kind of hoping for a movie, but television show, completely happy with. If they put as much effort into it as they do, let's say, Game of Thrones, it will be right up there.
Good. Because she certainly didn't like the first time they tried the production. She was not happy with it at all.
She was not happy. The fans were not happy. They did not even have the express consent to even make it. They didn't own any of the copyrights or anything like that. So there was really no reason to make the pilot that they did. And the pilot that they did make, don't get me wrong, there was some production value to it, but nothing even close to what the series deserves.
They didn't do it justice. This next story from Popular Science, again, I teased that the Large Hadron Collider was temporarily offline, not because of a technical issue, but because of a small mammal, a weasel. This story from Carl Frenzen, he said, "What is it with small mammals and electrical lines? How many times have we lost power because a squirrel got toasted on a transformer here?" Well, evidently not even the world's largest and most powerful particle accelerator, the Large Hadron Collider, is immune from their meddling. The multi-billion-dollar scientific instrument that located the elusive Higgs boson particle back in 2012, basically known as the God particle, they discovered it finally, has suffered widespread electrical problems in recent days, thought to be caused by a now deceased small mammal gnawing on a transformer line. Again, according to NPR, a New Scientist. Although a spokesperson for the LHC's managing organization, CERN, told NPR that the animal was a weasel, probably. A photo of the animal posted on Imager by someone purported on the LCHC grounds is inconclusive. And a related Reddit thread speculates the animal could have, in fact, been a marten that was mislabeled a weasel. And this is me speculating, perhaps due to translation issues. That's the author saying that. Either way, it will likely take at least several days for the problem to be fixed, and the accelerator isn't likely to resume experiments until May, sometime this month. As for the poor creature, well, rest in peace. Here's hoping that it wasn't actually a time traveler sent back from the apocalyptic future, where talking animals rule a ruined Earth, who was intending to sabotage the LHC to prevent said apocalypse. Okay.
That's some blue skying there.
Yeah, it is. You know, it's a cute little thing. He got toasted. Poor thing.
Yeah, sadly, did not make it out alive from destroying the Large Hadron Collider. But you know, I feel bad, but I'm sure they definitely try. Like, you can try all day long to make these things secure, airtight. You know, make sure nothing's going to get in and ruin them. But I mean, animals are crafty. They will bite and chew and, you know, squirm their way into the tightest places where you don't want them.
Yeah.
And, you know, like they said, it's going to knock the whole system out for a couple of weeks while they repair this thing.
Yeah. Caused some damage. Did do.
Crazy, crazy, crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. As we move on to the next one. And
Want to do one Tesla? Because Mike Cermak's going to be here.
No, exactly. Well, Mike Cermak's going to be here. Why not leave it for him to talk about?
All right.
So, how about this one? We can do this real quick because it's an imposter. A lot of people are thinking that Craig Wright, not Craig Crossman, Craig Wright, is claiming to be the notorious Satoshi, the mysterious creator of Bitcoin. Right. So, Craig Wright. Yeah. So, allegations and admittances are once again circulating about the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto, the alias of the unknown creator of Bitcoin. So, the Economist, BBC, and GQ have all reported that Craig Wright, who has been previously accused of being Satoshi, is claiming that he is indeed Bitcoin's creator. Wright himself has even published a long blog post where he waxes poetic about Jean-Paul Sartre and thanks his many supporters. If I sign Craig Wright, is not the same as if I sign Craig Wright Satoshi, he writes. And, you know, long story short, for anyone out there who does not know, Bitcoin has a creator. His name is Satoshi Nakamoto, and no one really knows who he is because he was the first one to mine all the Bitcoins. You know, obviously he started the blockchain. You have to start off the blockchain. So he has access to thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Bitcoins that he mined almost effortlessly before other people even jumped in and started doing the exact same thing. So whoever did create this would have access to not only the source code and be able to change it for their own nefarious purposes, although, you know, no such evidence has been shown of tampering, but they would have access to the first Bitcoin, the first block of Bitcoins, and of course tons and tons of Bitcoins, making them filthy stinking rich. But the dust is settling, and Mr. Craig Wright, who's claiming to be Satoshi, he's you know, he can't really prove it. There's a very, very easy way to prove if you are Satoshi. And the easiest way would be to take a screenshot, just show evidence that each block, that each blockchain that you solve, each block in the blockchain that you solve comes with a number. And if Craig Wright could just show the evidence that he has the private key for block number 1, that he has a private key for block number 1 through 1000, then, you know, that is definitive proof that he is the creator, because, you know, no one else would have the private key for that one block. But he's not showing it. He says that he's shown proof to all these magazines that we just mentioned. He's shown proof behind closed doors, secretly. But, you know, I feel like if you're the creator and you are trying to claim yourself as such, why not release definitive, inarguable details instead of being secret, instead of being secretive and trying to skirt without actually having to prove yourself? So, you know, he's claiming to be, you know, the one true creator. while at the same time not putting out the very easily attainable definitive proof that he is the creator.
Well, maybe we'll never know.
No, it's a very easy way to know.
Yes, but he won't do it. He won't do that.
He won't do it for some unknown reason, other than the fact that a couple months earlier, back in 2015, the same person, Craig Wright, also claimed that he was the creator of Bitcoin, and was laughed out because he had no proof. He could not prove it, and he had tried this exact same thing before, and now he's coming around again. This time, getting what I feel like are these other big publications to back him up, falsifying some kind of proof that he's showing behind closed doors that under the proper scrutiny would not hold up. But he is showing something to these, to these companies that are making them say, yes, this is the creator. I think his proof is bogus.
Seconds.
Yeah.
I think his proof is bogus, and whatever he's showing is fake. He knows it, and that's why he won't release it. And he's almost definitely not Satoshi.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, listen, that about wraps up the show. Again, I want to thank Danny Wettrich from GreenBank Capital talking about GreenCoin X. We definitely know that he was the creator of that. And
60 seconds.
coming up tomorrow, it's going to be our Gamer Tuesday. We're going to have iMobi is going to be joining us. iMobi, they have this really cool game out. And what we're going to do is we're going to have Joe Chang, who is the founder of iMobi, is going to be talking about this the game, Phantasmal. Okay. And then, of course, in the second hour, we'll have computer and technology news brought to you by Slimware Utilities, the official optimization software of Computer America. That about wraps it up. Thank you so much for being here. Ben and I will see you same time, same place, same station. So until tomorrow afternoon, this is Craig Crossman, hoping that your hard disk never becomes floppy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.
10 seconds. Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio. Goodbye.
Okay, again, everybody, thank you so much for watching us. And again, Gamer Tuesday tomorrow with Phantasmal. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.